we need to talk about Iran. But not the one that you're thinking of with the missiles or geopolitics. I'm talking about the Iran that keeps MTN's lawyers up at night. When American public policy commentator Michael Walsh raised the red flag about Mitsubishi Jonas centered on MTN's dealings in Iran in April, I didn't pay it much attention. Then the Supreme Court of Appeal ruled in favor of hearing the Iran cell bribery and corruption case in South African courts in May. MTN immediately challenged that in the Constitutional Court, and now the drama has my full attention. You may have heard about Turkcell's case against MTN, but what you might not have heard is just how deep this story goes and what it reveals about corporate power, diplomacy, and money. Hi, I'm Lindsey Schutters, and I'm a journalist at Daily Maverick covering tech and business. Okay, so how did we get here? In 2003, Iran issued its first private mobile network license. Turkcell and MTN were the main bidders, and Turkcell won. Then Iran had an election, and the new parliament changed the ownership laws, which MTN says Turkcell wasn't complying with, so they put themselves forward. So Turkcell got big mad and started making wild claims about how MTN bribed officials with money, votes on nuclear program decisions, and Royfalk attack helicopters. What followed was almost 2 decades of court challenges. What does Turkcell want? $4.2 billion. And the record to state that they were robbed of the opportunity to conquer a new mobile frontier. That's their words, not mine. Here's the smoking gun though. Turkcell says MTN pulled some serious strings to grab the $31 billion mobile market in Iran. They're saying the license was handed over right after South Africa abstained from a key vote at the International Atomic Energy Agency in late 2005. A vote about Iran's nuclear program. But that wasn't just a one-time thing though. South Africa kept the same stance, staying neutral on similar votes in 2006, supposedly to stick to its principles about fairness at the IAEA's authority. Coincidence? Turkcell doesn't think so. MTN, for its part, has always dismissed Turkcell's claims as a fabric of lies and a frivolous shakedown, with its legal team clinging to the Hoffman Report as its source of truth. We encourage you to review the full Hoffman Report for a complete understanding of the scope and depth of the inquiry and why it came to the conclusion that the allegations you have highlighted do not have merit. We stand by the conclusions of that report and continue to reject the allegations. MTN remains committed to ethical conduct and to engaging transparently through the appropriate legal channels. Okay, so what's this Hoffman Report? It's a 2013 internal investigation led by British Supreme Court Judge Lord Hoffman. He found no conspiracy, labeled Turkcell's key witness as a fantasist, and said MTN executives were in the clear. MTN also argues that Turkcell failed to comply with the Iranian laws after a shift in government policy. Iran introduced foreign ownership caps after Turkcell's bid was accepted. They failed to adjust their shareholding in time, MTN argues, and were lawfully excluded from the process. MTN's lawyers told me in a briefing session on background, that's a fancy way for when companies like share information, but not from a named spokesperson, that their client was simply better positioned to navigate Iran's evolving regulatory landscape. But Turkcell's criticism of the investigation is scathing. First, Lord Hoffman's daughter, Jennifer, worked for MTN Mobile Money during the relevant 2004 to 2006 period, and also in the MTN banking joint venture with Standard Bank, which was involved in the financial transfers. Then, the committee was composed of MTN non-executive directors and used MTN's own outside lawyers, Freshfields Bruckhaus Derringer, instead of independent counsel. The committee even thanked the Islamic Republic of Iran for support, problematic given Iran's alleged involvement in the wrongdoing. The committee didn't actually interview key witnesses like former MTN director in Iran, Chris Kilowan, then commercial director Irene Charnley, who was Hoffman's daughter's direct manager, or former MTN CEO Patuman Nhleko, to determine credibility, relying only on statements prepared with lawyers' help. They didn't independently seek documents, relying instead on what MTN's lawyers provided. Turkcell's legal counsel, Cedric Sewell, characterizes the report as essentially a PR exercise to review curated evidence and reach predetermined conclusions. His client declined to participate due to concerns about the committee's structure and independence. So where are we now? MTN is now seeking leave to appeal to the Constitutional Court in a last-ditch effort to stop the case from going to trial. Turkcell has filed its opposition and expects a decision imminently in the next 3 months. MTN has argued that Iranian courts would offer a fair alternative venue for the dispute, but Turkcell has strongly rejected this suggestion. The Turkish company cites well-documented concerns regarding judicial independence and due process in what it describes as a religious dictatorship where dissent is not tolerated. More practically, Turkcell argues that Iranian courts wouldn't be able to compel MTN executives who live in South Africa to appear and testify, a crucial limitation. While the Supreme Court agreed that Iranian law would apply to aspects of the case, Turkcell sees this as its only and probably final opportunity to get a substantive ruling on MTN's alleged misconduct. If it proceeds, this would become one of South Africa's most explosive corporate trials. But I only had one question I wanted answered. What was up with the arms deal claims? Sewell clarified that while there isn't any evidence that missiles or radar systems or anything like that was passed from Denel to Iran, there is evidence that MTN was brokering introductions between the Iranians and Denel. The position is that the telecommunications company would not be brokering such introductions other than for the very purpose of getting the license that had been awarded to Turkcell. This was seen as a way for MTN to demonstrate what they could do to secure the license for themselves.